I'm Claire van der Zant, Chief Growth Officer at Shieldpay, and I'm acutely aware that we stand in the way of a drink on the beautiful terrace in Sunset. So we'll keep this punchy and hopefully impactful. And we are going to try and get you out of here at 5:30. So speedy, punchy. 2024 hasn't quite delivered on the aspirations to deliver compensation, certainly in the UK, that we were all hoping for, with ongoing developments in all of the collective regimes. So rather than hash out old content, I'm delighted to bring together a panel who are spearheading transformation in the claimant journey and experience in preparation for, again, hopefully, a very, very busy 2025 and beyond. If you've heard me before, I've talked a lot about the importance of the ecosystem in this space, in collective redress. In fact, Steve summed it up brilliantly this morning when he called out that it's about being more than just a necessary vendor. It really does take a village to deliver successful outcomes for claimants in this space. So without further ado, I have the pleasure of hosting some new faces to this audience, but by no means new to delivering tirelessly on the big, bold ambition to achieve a single source of truth for claimants, no matter where they are on the journey. So I'm going to hand over to the panel to introduce themselves, starting off first with Harry Fox, Director of Operations at Pogust Goodhead.
Yeah, hi guys. Can you hear me okay? I can never get used to these things.
Is it on? Are we on?
No.
Testing,
Shall
1,
we?
2, 3.
Can you hear me okay?
I will bring you Harry from Pogust Goodhead in a moment. In fact, whilst we sort that out, I will jump to Sophie.
Yeah.
So Sophie Condie, Chief Executive Officer at Shieldpay.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. I've had a really, really great day listening to all the panels, and I was just there's something really, really refreshing about when you come to these events and you're back in your office, you're managing your business, you're planning, and you're really throwing yourself into some of the challenges. And today, those challenges that we face in our business have come out. Ooh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Have come out like thick and fast through all of these panels. So the data, the journey, the communication, and we'll carry on with that theme on here. So yeah, I'm Sophie Condie. I am the CEO at Shieldpay. 20 years in financial services, so not a legal background. A actual payment nerd. I'm quite proud of that. But we work. Shieldpay is a regulated payments entity, and we have taken on the complexities of legal payments. We're providing a tech-led solution to reduce the risk, increase transparency, and enhance the security at pace. So yeah, that's who we are. We have 3 pillars, which are verify, hold, and disperse, and you'll hear more about us in due course. And I'll hand back over to Harry.
Okay, can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my name's Harry Fox, as Claire said, Director of Operations at Pogust Goodhead. We are a claimant firm. We represent somewhere in the region of 3 million clients worldwide. Like Pedro from the previous panel, we represent clients in Brazil and South America. We have a large number of clients in the UK, and then we have clients across jurisdictions elsewhere. My role within the firm, I'm not one of our lawyers. My role as Director of Operations is to sort of be that conduit between our clients and the legal teams. So in respect to what we're going to be talking about today, we do a lot of work towards making sure the processes that we follow to ensure that clients get through that journey as sort of seamlessly as possible. We look for those efficiencies wherever we can, and then build upon those to make sure that we can deploy the resources we have as effectively as we can.
And carrying on the theme of not lawyers, we have Garry Ovenell, VP of Solution Engineering at TalkDesk.
So a good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to be back in Lisbon. So we're actually a Lisbon company, or a Portuguese company at heart. So TalkDesk is who I work for. I'm the VP of Global Solutions. So I look after all the technical resources that help Pogust Goodhead be successful with the work we do. But this is not my normal place. This is a totally different show to what I normally attend. So you're all very smart. Normally I'm talking to techies, nerds, people wearing jeans and scruffy t-shirts. But looking forward to catching up with you a bit later.
Brilliant, thank you. So as a bit of setup for the panel, any industry today that deals with thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of customers is going through a constant evolution of business practices. Sophie's mentioned it earlier, to try and improve that customer journey, to achieve excellent customer experience, regardless of how established class action or collective redress regimes and mechanisms are across the globe. The reality of developing businesses and solutions that can acquire, engage, and successfully deliver outcomes for their customers or claimants is synonymous. Where it might have been possible to deal with a few hundred or maybe even a few thousand customers or claimants manually, how we design businesses and solutions to manage millions of customers requires a different approach. Fortunately, the world of commercial business has been developing this capability for many years, so we have great examples to learn from. So together, Shieldpay, Pogust Goodhead and TalkDesk are striving to bring the business of law to life with modern approaches to technology, data, brand and strategy. So thank you again to the panel in lending their time today to share their experiences and approach to innovating claimant journeys. And I will hand over to Harry now with some questions. So I always think it's interesting to start to talk about the journey. We all engage with stories, and innovation always starts from a place of where we go, there has to be a better way. So Harry, I'm going to call out 21 and you'll figure out why later, but from 2021 to now, how were you dealing with the distribution to claimants then? What wasn't working? And what has therefore driven this vision for a single source of truth? Yeah, so
our first sort of taste on a large-scale settlement, certainly from the client handling point of view, was very much, we'd not done this before. We had to start working out processes that we think would work in practice, and then reality hits, and we're dealing with lots and lots of clients who have lots and lots of questions and, all sorts of challenges that come from that. We heard the last panel talk a lot about data. It's a hugely important aspect when we're moving towards any settlements of cases. It's very important to make sure that you're constantly keeping your clients or giving opportunities for your clients to keep you as the firm up to date, to make sure that we've actually got the most up to date information that we need for our clients. It was really obvious really quickly that a lot of the people who we thought were on the books and had perfectly valid data, actually, somebody had got married and suddenly that was going to play a bit of havoc with the payment process. We've had people move house or they've changed their phone number and all that sort of, very, very simple stuff that you don't quite think about necessarily until it becomes important. So I think those early stages, certainly from a processing point of view, we hit quite a number of brick walls. We also found there was a lot of manual handling back in those early days in 2021. So we were transferring data by spreadsheet between us and Shieldpay. We were having that information come back on a regular basis, and we had to sort of work around that timetable of we know we're going to get a spreadsheet at the end of the week and this sort of stuff that will go with it. From an actual manpower point of view, well, one of the things that hit us quite hard is just the sheer number of queries that people had. When's my money coming? How's my money turning up? Is my son's birthday at the weekend? Will I get it before then? And all that sort of stuff that's is a perfectly natural thing for somebody to ask. We had no obvious infrastructure immediately to be dealing with that, which meant that we had to deploy resources from elsewhere in the business to actually answer those questions. And for me, I was looking at these processes thinking, we've just settled this case. We're not going to make any more money out of this case at this point. So we're now having to deploy resources, or even at times hire resources, to actually deal with stuff that isn't going to be ultimately doing us any favours in the long run against the bottom line. So that was our first large settlement back then. We learned a hell of a lot of lessons, and the first one I would say that I learned was, how can I support and help the team just be more efficient by the time we get to the next instance.
Love it. And then kind of fast forwarding to now, what is that vision? So we've called the panel a single source of truth, but what does that really mean for Pogust Goodhead?
Well, I think just moving towards a world where we're never going to get perfect. It's always going to every instance of settling a case is going to come with its own challenges. Where we have got to, in the previous settlement, since that's that sort of early sort of challenging stage, is that we introduced levels of automation. So a very, very simple, straightforward thing was to say, well, our clients will not necessarily get to speak to a person at first instance. They will get to speak to a simple bot which will answer a simple, number of frequently asked questions for those clients. Immediately, that shaved off about 90-something% of the queries, because most people just want the simple question answered. When am I getting my money, as I say, or you get the answer straight away up on the screen. I think it was only one in. I think it was 95%. One in 20 clients had to actually speak to a person, which was a huge starting point from an efficiency point of view. But to me, that's not good enough, right? We have there's a world out there where our next settlement might be 5-6 times as large as the last one. And if that's the case, still speaking to 1 in 20 clients is going to be a huge drain on our resources. So we've been working with the guys at TalkDesk, working with the guys at Shieldpay, where what my vision is on this, we're still doing a lot of work in the background, is to ensure this single source of truth for clients is very clear, which means that there is a sharing of data between our various systems, all linking back to that single source on our CRM. And then on top of that, because clients have a tendency to try us first, and they will maybe get the answer they need, but if they don't, they will then try and speak to Shieldpay, because they will know they're involved too. We also found that clients would go shopping for the answer they want, and if they don't, if they get something different from Shieldpay to us, it causes us problems because we have to unblock that or repair it. So we are looking to build a platform which is very much in development at the moment, whereby if a client was to make contact with us or make contact with Shieldpay or any other partner of ours throughout that process, they would still see or feel or hear the same voice as part of that process. The systems will dictate what part of the process the client is at, because of that sharing of information behind the scenes. But ultimately, there will be occasions where clients do need to talk to us as part of the settlement process because of something that's maybe cropped up on the legal side. There will be occasions where they need to talk to Shieldpay because there is a particular challenge on the payment side. And our systems are being built at the moment to ensure that clients get to speak to the right person first time and to have no ambiguity as to who is to be helping them at any part of the process. So, yes, we are making great strides in that. There is still work to be done, but ultimately the process that will be rolling out as we land our next major settlement will be one where there is very, very little human touch unless it's absolutely necessary.
Awesome. And then talking about those systems, we are joined here today by TalkDesk. Give us a brief overview of why you went in search of contact centre solutions, and then why specifically TalkDesk. Be nice.
Yeah, be nice. Yeah. So we've worked with Garry and the team for about 2 years, 2.5 years or so. We had an opportunity to review our contact centre solutions. We worked at the time with some fairly simple systems. So we had a system that done the telephone work, we had a system that done emails, we had a system that done live chat, but not much of it was all under one roof. And then if you can imagine how that looks from the client's point of view, they might engage with one system and get a really, really great service, and then they engage with another part of our sort of infrastructure and get a slightly clunkier version of the same, and then email is old hat for me, but people might have their own opinions. And ultimately, from a user point of view, from the agents who are actually dealing with clients, not being able to see in front of you for a single pane of glass what is happening throughout that client journey without having to bounce between different windows or use different systems. And I say that as somebody who from many years ago worked in these sorts of environments as a contact centre agent and stuff like that. It's frustrating for the user. It means you're constantly having to say to the client, bear with me a second, let me just go through your system, let me just check what the system's saying. And it's just very messy as a user experience. So what ultimately I was looking for was a partner who would be able to provide us with sort of the more up-to-date, modern functionality that you should be expecting from a contact centre. Systems that would be able to talk to one another very seamlessly was my main goal. I was also slightly conscious that we were working in an environment where there was small rumblings at that time of AI and how that might start impacting on customer service. And obviously right now it's a bit of a buzzword, but we wanted to work with somebody who is going to embrace that in this environment in the legal industry. It's an area which is going to carry a lot of risk. But for us, we wanted to work with somebody who might be able to find the right efficiencies out of these systems and enable us to, with such a large client base, find ways to use it effectively where we could. So TalkDesk were one of a number of vendors that we spoke to. Ultimately, in that space, TalkDesk pretty much convinced us that they're in it as a partnership. They're not just here as somebody who is going to be taking a pound note off us and are ultimately going to be just there as another vendor. They wanted to work with us. They wanted to come on the journey, and they wanted to actually be a part of what we're trying to achieve. And that was the real the real selling point. So yeah, the ultimate goal was to find somebody who could provide us with all of the tech we needed. But what we got was that, plus also somebody who's become a real partner of the firm.
And Garry, on your side, it would be great to hear a little bit more about TalkDesk. You have confessed that this is a new space for you. Yeah. So give everybody kind of a bit of an overview of who TalkDesk are, and then what made PG a great fit for your platform.
I think you sold it for me already.
Brilliant.
But, so TalkDesk, we're an AI-powered CX platform. So really what that means is we're looking at ways to enable the communications to and maybe back from large people, so contact centres essentially out there, and I've disappeared, I think. Can everyone still hear me?
Yeah.
I'm back, yeah. It's really weird, I'm getting this echo going on around. But ultimately, so as a contact centre platform, it's really all about making sure that we give the opportunity to businesses to treat people like humans. So really interact in a way that people want to interact, but still service the same transaction. So I'll use some examples outside the legal industry, if I don't mind, but if you think about banking, okay, people just want to get their balance, but they may want to get it via an SMS, or they may want to get it via a phone call, or they may want to get it via WhatsApp. How do we allow that transaction to happen in a controlled, secure fashion back to a centralized system? So when we met with Harry the very first time, there was a stark difference between the approach they were taking and most of the people we deal with in the contact center space. Ultimately, Harry came to us with a business problem, not necessarily a contact center problem. So when we sat down and started understanding a bit about what Pogust Goodhead are doing or trying to achieve, it actually lined up with a lot of what we were trying to do as well as a business. Now, I mentioned we're a Portuguese company. We're quite young in this space. We've only been around since 2011. We are one of the fastest growing platforms out there, and we are built on a modern architecture. But ultimately, we still had a lot to learn, and we still had lots of things to gain as well. And working with Harry and his team, which are fantastic, by the way, we managed to learn a lot as well about how we can actually drive better solutions. What this has led to is, should we say, an accelerated investment from our side, but at the same time, we've achieved some great things in the 2.5 years that we've been together so far.
Great. And if we get time, I will dig into the AI buzzword, because we just have to throw it in there. Pack our AI, it has to be in the conference. Sophie, we at Shieldpay like to think that leaning into what's difficult, learning from our experiences, our past mistakes, is actually our superpower. And so if we can, let's expose some of the challenges that we hinted to earlier on. So back in 2021, where we first started working with the PG team on the BA data breach case, we were staring down the barrel of tens of thousands of claimants, and neither of us had done this before, not to that scale. And it was a big learning adventure. So what were some of the pain points and challenges on that specific distribution?
Yeah, I mean, Harry, you've covered a lot. It was a baptism of fire, as Claire said. So I just joined Shieldpay as well. So joining Shieldpay and PG, this was their first case. It was Shieldpay's first case. And just the inefficiencies in data gathering, the manual effort. We were talking about it earlier, actually just living it, and probably counselling each other a little through the process. And what hopefully will be helpful for the audience is there's lots of jurisdictions and countries that we're listening to today that haven't ever done settlement yet. We haven't actually reached dispersing the funds. So hopefully there's some snippets that will help you guys too as you enter into that, because I think so much of the legal sector, you guys are you're the experts on the legal side of things, pushing and working incredibly hard to get to settlement. Then that disbursement is so, it's almost like, oh, now what? Like, how on earth are we going to do this? So I think some of the biggest learns was the data. Again, just to keep that steel thread going. The data was cold, for a better words. It was cold. It was fragmented between the two companies, and trying to process it. We're a regulated entity. We needed to do all of our AML, KYC, sanction checking, make sure that we were securing. We knew where the money was going to go to and how we were going to get it from them. And I will disclose that we spent many an evening in the office, sat there eyeballing paper statements and putting them into the computer. This stuff is real. It's so important, but getting this data collated in a way that can be utilised and processed via APIs, via our systems, which is where we are now, which is an amazing achievement in 3 years. But we've learned by doing the do and finding out what we need to do for our claimants and our clients. So the manual effort was just excessive, and as Harry said as well, it was in Harry's team, it was in my team, it was across our businesses. And again, we were both, if there was one of the other things, so leading on from the data, it was then the communication. So not only did we need to be effective at communicating, we needed to be effective at communicating at every stage and together. So initially we sort of set up, I think it was either every 2 weeks a call to, talk the progress, and then it became weekly, and then we were like, no, it's daily, multiple times in the day, to make sure that the communications were flowing. Also, when we sent out communications, they needed to be hand in glove, because there was another settlement we did together where a communication went out without, there was just a faux pas, wasn't there, between us?
Yeah, I think it was one went out, it should have gone before the other, and just back to front, and it confused the hell out of the clients. Yeah,
and literally everyone was on us straight away. When are you paying us? You've got our money, because they're already feeling like they've already had a wrongdoing happen. They want the money, and we want to get it to them in the safest and fastest manner. So communication at every stage and just working together. It does take a village, and being able to do that. And then my last point that I'll make, and again, I would urge everyone to do this, and especially as a tech company, incident management. So things will go wrong. It's not if, they will. Things will break, things will not go how we expect them to go at one stage or another. And ensuring that you've got a sound incident management process that you can invoke and just get people together, find the problem, fix it, and move forward. And then you can, figure out what's happening as we go through. That was really powerful. There was a couple of events that happened and we needed to invoke our incident management process, but because it was effective, we were able to act quickly, and as painful as it is, because you just don't want there to be these errors or mishaps, you have to be honest, you have to talk in a safe place, what needs to happen. We need to get to the problem, fix it, move forward and communicate to the claimants. So those are sort of I think the biggest key learns that we went from the BA data breach. And again, coming back to your point as well, because I know we'll talk about it in a minute, but that we were talking about how long it took us to do that data breach, and that was 13,000 claimants, so not huge, but that took us, I think it was 10 months, and it's still rumbling on now. There's still some claimants and some of the insights, whereas one of the most recent ones we did together was from end-to-end verification to all the communications, as in once settlement was achieved, within 72 hours, we'd completed the bulk of a 14,000 claimant payout. So again, the journey's been worth it, and learning all the time and working together is really powerful.
I mean, that's just answered the next question as well. So we are getting close to getting you out at 5:30. No, it's good. So I think we've talked a little bit there about some of the challenges, and I think it's worth being really honest. We are certainly in the UK and Europe forging ahead in a very new space, and this is the whole point of these conferences, to learn from one another. So I hope, being a bit vulnerable and sharing with you things that didn't work so well back then is helpful. You've talked about the next case, 72 hours, 10,479 payments. It's ingrained in my brain because I just remember so many celebrations at being able to achieve that. Thinking forward then, we are now progressing to a space where we have that completely unified journey. Can I get you all just to talk a little bit about what you think having that single source of truth for every claimant involved in one of these cases is going to bring, certainly for this trio of awesome companies, but also for learnings for the rest of the ecosystem?
I think it feels very obvious talking about it now, having that single source of truth for any parties involved in supporting that claimant on that journey. It really just makes that claimant's life a lot easier, but also it creates so many better efficiencies and cleans the process up completely. It really does sound simple when I put it that way. It is simple. The trouble is, until you've gone through some of the pain points and the issues that you would have encountered in the past, you don't always know where to start in terms of improving processes, or you think you can do it yourself, or you think you know better, and actually there are aspects that, we can't do aspects of the process that Shieldpay can do. We can't build aspects of our systems that TalkDesk support us with, but actually, working together on a project that we know is going to cause us pain if we just do nothing. At this point, I think we'll be in a position where, we'll be doing we'll be doing a much larger number of
25.
Settlements in 2025. Can I go? In that same sort of time frame, I'd love to, hit 50, 60,000 settlements within a 72-hour period. That'd be amazing, right? And it's doable, so long as we've got those plans in place that we have, and the integrations that are in place. And also, I touch upon it, AI is a very, very difficult area within law at times, but I think, for our clients, so long as you've got the right guardrails up, you've got the right protections in place, then actually a lot of our clients are getting very used to talking to a system as opposed to talking to a person at first, at the first level. And once we're starting to improve those areas of our work and ensuring the agents that we have, or the staff that we have who are client-facing, are positioned well enough to be able to pick up a situation where somebody is fallen into a bottleneck somewhere, or they've gone down a pathway within our systems that doesn't quite look right. These are the areas where we're trying to ensure that 99% of our clients will just go through a very, very automated and straightforward journey, and then we can deploy those resources that we need to deploy on the troubleshooting aspects of it. And that's, I think, for me, where we'll be getting to, hopefully in the next few months.
Brilliant. Sophie?
Yeah, I think, again, our ambition, I think we're all aligned, which is wonderful. I would say all of us are aligned, actually. Is that transparency. So one of the biggest things that we've found along the way in pretty much any payment within the legal sector that we've done, predominantly the litigation ones, they just want to know where they are in the process, and there's actually a much higher level of understanding if they can see, I'm being verified, and even if it's stuck for a couple of days, at least if you can see where you are, you've got that much bigger level of understanding. There was that research, wasn't there, on the tubes, where with the dashboard they publicise how long the train's going to be, and actually you could be waiting 20 minutes and you don't mind because you know you're waiting 20 minutes. But if you were sat there going, when's the next train? You'd be so anxious and frustrated. And so this transparency of the transaction end to end is one of the most vital things, and one source of truth, because again, there's so many parties involved. Unless you are all singing from that same song sheet and same data, you just fall over. So that transparency of where they are in the process from settlement, and then when they can expect their money, that was probably one of our first learnings as well, wasn't it? Actually, once we communicated, we wouldn't communicate until the funds were landed. First and foremost, that was the first learn, and then the second was to say you will receive it by this date, and then we all knew we had that time without failure, we got the money there. So that transparency of the end-to-end and that source of truth is just essential. So for everybody who's attacking this for the first time, try and imagine the happy path is the easiest one. Think of all the unhappy ones. Would be my biggest advice as well.
Yeah, there are plenty of bizarre experiences that we've had dealing with claimants and their settlements and payments. Garry, last but not least, give us the TalkDesk spiel on what this really means.
Well, I think it's been said already, right? The data is always key in everything you do, and when it comes to the things we do, we want to make sure that data is good. We're making the right decisions, especially when we get into the world of AI and we'll automate things. And if you can guarantee that that's going well, you've got the right guardrails, you can understand how information is flowing through your systems and getting out to the various people, then you have automation opportunities. Then AI starts coming really home to you in terms of how you can essentially do more for less, faster, quicker, more in the way that those customers want to actually engage with you out there, which means you can scale more. You've talked about some of the larger deals and opportunities that are coming down the road. You're going to need technologies like this to be able to do that. So that's where I would say, we've heard this before, a few sessions now, data is king, good data, all that sort of stuff. So I would say the same. If your data's bad, you will get some bad experiences.
And definitely the automation piece. We simply can't face into the numbers that are purporting to come through from the different regimes with lots of manpower. Does the panel have any other burning points that you wanted to get across today?
I'll just make one comment. I know we weren't going to talk too much on the AI side of things, but I get asked a lot about what is AI and what can it do for me, and it's massive out there today, and I'm sure some of you know very well what that's all about. I just want to touch on it in a simplistic fashion, and I tried to explain this to my father a few weeks ago, and he's 80, and he doesn't really get AI. So I said to him, Dad, just think of AI as this. Think of it as your brain using the encyclopedias. Okay, so you can't store the encyclopedia in your brain, but your brain knows how to answer a question when it has the data. Okay, this is why data is so key when it comes to AI. We've got the brains now. We never had those a few years ago. So we can talk to machines now just like they're human beings, but the data is really key. So as you go down that journey of AI, make sure there are guardrails and there are boundaries and everything around that data. The data's good because that's what the brain's going to use to talk to your clients.
And did your dad get it after that?
He got it after that, yeah.
Excellent.
Now he tells me what it's about.
That's good. And hopefully you all did too. I have delivered on my promise. We are 12 minutes and I'm going to wrap it up so that you can all get out and see the sunset, unless there are any questions. Heroes of the day, finished early.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.